Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Youth Zone with Sister Aurelia, and our discussion today is about honesty. Does it really pay? Does it still exist? Most people today don't think it makes sense to tell the truth all the time. Have you observed that? Many businessmen claim they could not compete successfully without some dishonesty. Advertisements come into our view daily that exaggerate or misrepresent. Though political leaders are supposed to be watching over the public's welfare, many people view them as untrustworthy. Seeing so much dishonesty among adults, young people often adopt the same course. Many cheat on tests in schools or cut classes under false pretenses. To their friends, they may brag, painting false pictures of what they are or what they have done. At home, they may even deceive their parents, answering questions about their conduct with half-truth, hiding the facts by phrasing their answers so as to give entirely false impressions. If their parents or others try to find out how they feel about immorality, drugs, or similar things, they may smoothly cover over the facts, saying what they think those questioning them want to hear, not how they really feel. To get money or permission to do something, they may shower a parent with insincere affection or with flattery. But is this really strange? The fact is, many young people feel they are justified in doing this, Why? Well, it's true that their parents may teach them that it is wrong to lie, yet they may see their parents misrepresent facts in order to get out of some unpleasant situation, or to avoid paying some bill, debt, or tax. Have you noticed that some parents even use their children to falsify for them in giving excuses? Where conditions like this prevail, what encouragement is there for young people or for many of us to strive to be honest in all things? In a world where lying, cheating, and stealing are so common, how practical and worthwhile is it for you to hold to what is true? Will it really bring you greater benefit than dishonesty would? And if so, what kind of benefit? There is what we call short-term and long-term benefits, and I want us to look at this. Ask yourself, what do I want? A quick gain, an apparent benefit, or that which brings enduring benefits? When you think about it, isn't it true that any apparent benefits from lying and cheating are short-term at best? Yes, God's word is really true when it says, and I quote, "It is the lip of truth that will be firmly established forever, but the tongue of falsehood will be only as long as a moment." We find that in Proverbs chapter 12, verse 19. Take an example. A businessman who mispresents some product, he may make a sale, but in the process he may lose a customer when the person finds out he was cheated. Or suppose you were to cheat in school. If not caught, you might get higher grades, well, but what good would even straight A's be if you got out of school with very little knowledge, maybe not even being able to read or add well? In the end, then the person who cheats actually cheats himself most of all. Just compare the honest and dishonest person and consider some of the things the dishonest person stands to lose. If you don't agree that anyone who thinks that dishonesty helps towards a better or happier life is really very short-sighted. If you are known for being straightforward and honest in your dealings, I tell you, you earn the respect and trust of others. The friends you gain are more likely to be genuine because they find you genuine and appreciate this. While it is true that the modern business world is often dishonest, it is also true that employers generally have enough sense to value employees who are honest. A reputation for honesty then can bring employment when employment is scarce, or aid in holding on to a job when others are losing theirs. At home, honesty contributes to a comfortable, pleasant atmosphere, eliminating doubts or suspicions between marriage partners and between parents and children. When by their honesty the parents are willing gradually to grant youngsters more freedom. Granted, telling the truth about some mistake or wrong act can bring discipline, but that discipline may well be lighter because you were honest. Then, if in the future you truthfully deny having done some wrong, your explanation is more likely to be believed because you were honest before. Contrast this with the person who gives in to dishonesty to get out of a pitch or to gain some advantage. He risks losing all the fine benefits because dealing with a dishonest person is like riding in a car with a steering defect. You never know just what he may do. So realize that when you lie to someone or cheat him, the distrust you create may take years to erase. Where a parent or a friend is involved, the wound caused may heal but may leave a bad memory that is like a long-lasting scar. If you make a practice of dishonesty, the time may well come when you seriously want and need others to believe and trust you, but they cannot. Is any temporary advantage that dishonesty brings worth this? Actually, lying is like wading into quicksand. Often a lie calls for other lies to back it up, and one is soon enmeshed in a vicious cycle. Surely, can't we see the wisdom in the straightforward Bible counsel? Do not be lying to one another. That is in Colossians chapter 3, verse 9. Those who lie often begin with half-truths and little lies, then gradually go on to worse ones. Lying thus often gets started as does gambling. The person gambling begins betting small amounts, but usually to cover some losses, he gradually gets drawn into making bigger and bigger bets. At first, telling falsehoods with a straight face may seem bold, daring, You may even know of persons who train themselves to look another straight in the eye while lying. Is that not courageous? No, lying is actually cowardly rather than courageous. What takes courage is to tell the truth and face up to whatever consequences that brings. Rather than, implying strength, a lie is weak, unable to stand on its own, needing other lies to hold it up. Never willing to meet the truth face to face. Why? Then be like, a person who spends his life wearing a false face, hiding, ducking, and making excuses. Why be like Judas Iscariot, who became a cheat, tried to lead a double life, and wound up a failure, and a suicide? Why not be a man or a woman enough to be honest? It is only a way to maintain self-respect and good conscience. There is when we talk about keeping your word. You promise something. Do you meet it up? Keeping your word is also involved in this matter of honesty. You would probably feel deeply hurt if your parents promised you something and then failed to fulfill their word. But do you feel as strongly about keeping your word to your parents? What are you like in this respect? If you tell someone you will help him to do something or offer to perform some service, do you try always to fulfill your word? If you make an appointment to meet someone at a certain time, do you show up and on time? How much is your word worth? Youth is the right time to start developing the habit of being a person of your word. Keeping or not keeping your word tells a lot about what you are like inside now. It also has a molding effect on your mind and heart. It builds up an attitude, a way of looking at things that can produce long-lasting personality traits. If you are reliable now, you probably will be in later years, and the reverse is just as true. For example, if you do not live up to your word now, in later years you may make a firm agreement to take on a certain job or assignment and then soon want back out. Many people do that, but they are not viewed with respect by others. Why do people break their word? Well, for one thing, keeping one's word puts limitations on a person. It obligates him. When the time arrives for keeping an appointment or some other promise, something else may seem more appealing. Then too many times the person may find that making good on this world means much harder work than he thought it would be. What will you do in such cases? Will you stay by your word, even though it means some hardships or loss to you? One may say, but the question here is, those whose fault is it? Was there fraud or deception on the other person's side? If not, then if you endure whatever hardness fulfilling your word requires, you learn a valuable lesson. That is, think before you talk, before you give your word. Then when you speak, mean what you say. To say yes, to say something simply because you think it will please someone, but without first thinking out the consequences, can get you into difficulty. By contrast, if you are careful about making promises, if you think matters through and consider how they will affect your future life, then it will be much easier to keep your word. Once you have committed yourself, you will have prepared your heart and mind to be true to your word. Let your word yes mean yes. That's what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 5, verse 35. There is a song that I like. That's let your yes be yes, let your no be no, just like your Father in heaven. Why do you think honesty pays? The main reason why it pays to be honest and truthful is that God counts as his friends only persons who are. Why so? Because he himself is unfailingly true to his word. That is why Joshua could say to the nation of Israel, you well know with all your heart, with all your soul, that not one word out of all the good words that God, your God, has spoken to you has failed. They have all come true for you. Not one word of them has failed. We find that is in Joshua chapter 23, verse 4. The Bible is largely a record of the promises God has kept. His trueness in the past is what gives us such confidence of future blessings in fulfillment of His promises. Do you want God's approval? Then remember that He gives it only to those who worship Him with spirit and truth. We get that in John chapter 4 verse 23. And keep in mind that He detests lying in all its forms: deception, boasting, slander, cheating, because it brings from selfishness, greed, and callous and concern for the interests of others. He knows that all humankind's troubles and sufferings originally stem from lying on the part of the father of the lie, that is the devil, Satan, God's principal enemy. That is in John chapter 8 verse 44. Do you sincerely want to hold faithfully to a course of honesty? Then you should realize that only genuine love for your Creator and your neighbor can give you the motivation you need. There must be a heartfelt love of truth for the good it does, and an equally intense hatred of lying for the harm it does. God's approval too must mean more to you than of any other person. Remember, it is only because He Himself loves the truth and hates lying that we can have a solid hope for the future based on His unfailing promises and the proved reliability of His word. So strive to be like Him. Keep in mind that it is the lip of truth that will be firmly established forever, but the tongue of falsehood will be only as long as a moment. We find that in Proverbs chapter 12 verse 19. Consider speaking the truth, and then you will have a good life and you will always enjoy your life. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I believe in our talk, as we discussed, you enjoyed the beautiful animals, the lions, the the peacock, and very many animals in our video. And we find these ones in the park here in Nairobi. It is really cool. You need to find time and come and enjoy this place and watch these animals. Thank you so much, and stay well. Bye bye. Please remember to subscribe if you haven't subscribed.